10 fighters, 8,000 combinations, but what are their abilities? What's up, everybody? It's Zach from SwitchForce. I got Jake here, and today we are discussing the abilities and the health and the throw damage for every character in ARMS. The 10 have been revealed, but what exactly do they do? Personally, this is something I've been super interested in, so I love this Reddit thread that has compiled all of the abilities and throw damage for each character. We'll link to that thread if you want to read it yourself. We're going to go through them one by one, Jake, and decide who is the biffiest of the battalion.
Biffy. I thought you were going to say biffiest of the bunch, but okay, you pull out big boy words.
I was trying to have some alliteration that would make my high school English teachers proud. In case you're watching high school English teachers, this one's for you. And
I mean, bunch was an alliteration too, but
look at that. See,
Springman.
Springman really like the bouncer.
That each time, yeah, they gave the name that like the nickname that Biff gives to each character.
Right. So this is such a great culmination of all the directs, all the tournaments, all the info. Basically, they think every character is 1,000 health. And then their throw damage is different, but their abilities are where they really stand apart. So Springman is the bouncer. Ability 1 is a charge after dash will cause incoming arms to stop all momentum and sink to the ground, leaving an opening. So if you charge after dashing, boom, stop the incoming punches, and you're open for an attack. Now his ability 2 is when under 25% health, his arms will be permanently charged, and his throw damage is 150. Analyze it.
I think it's nice that they visually show it. Like at first glance, you don't really notice it, but each character, their abilities are visually demonstrated on the screen. So like Springman, when he does the charge after a dash, like a blue vortex kind of appears around him that knocks down the incoming arms. So I think that's helpful that they have a visual representation of what you're doing. I think it's interesting that he actually has like these more specific abilities, because when they first announced Ribbon Girl and Springman, I thought they were gonna be like, sort of like the Ken and Ryu, like just like the generic characters that don't really, there's like balance, don't really have anything unique about them. But I think it's cool that they actually each do. There's no real generic character. I'm sure there's some characters that aren't going to be more like beginner friendly, but they still have their own like very unique abilities.
Sure, yeah, and you know, Ribbon Girl, if we look at her abilities, very different from Springman. Ribbon Girl is the heiress, like princess, heiress, or heiress, I guess, like more like the heiress to the throne.
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
But in the air.
Or the mattress. I don't know.
No,
nope,
not the mattress.
Ability 1 is Ribbon Girl can mid-air jump up to 4 times.
That's a lot of Kirby puffs.
That is a lot of air time. Ability 2 can fall to the ground really quick, and her throw damage is the same as Springman, 150.
So basically, she's like Kirby but skinny and a full body. She can puff up in the air and then drop down real quick.
Right. So it looks like she's even using a lot of verticality, a lot of leaps to both dodge and also maneuver for better attack angles. Mm-hmm. So yeah, Springman and Ribbon Girl definitely not the same. Their punches, you know, everyone punches the same. You can use, you know, their primary arms or other arms in theory, but their abilities are where they're set apart. Now Jarrah is where things start getting real interesting. He is the student of stealth, and ability 1 is when dashing in midair, Jarrah will pop in and out of existence for a brief time. Ability
like
2
out of the existence. Yeah. He's no longer existing,
and then he comes right back at you.
Whoa, like magic.
Comic book hero. Ability 2 can dash out of block by disappearing and reappearing, and his throw damage also 150. 150 is the baseline throw damage. No one goes below that, so most characters are at 150. The heavier characters will rise above. But yeah, his is very ninja-like, obviously, and cool how, again, vastly different from the previous two.
See, but this to me, this seems like one of the most basic character. Like both of his abilities are basically the same thing. He dashes out of existence for a minute and then comes back. Whereas like Springman is, I think, more complex with like the under 25 health. He gets permanent charges. He can knock down attacks. So I think that's kind of interesting that Jarrah, just at face value, seems like a simpler type of character, but still, I mean, a very useful set of abilities.
Right, and I mean, yeah, personally, if I look at these, I'm like, okay, under 25, permanently charged, I like that. Ribbon Girl with the quadruple jump. Jarrah, you know, his dash, though, being able to get away, both midair and on the ground, that could be really useful. Mm-hmm. We moved to Master Mummy, the Grim Creeper, what a nickname, who is the first of the heavies. He has a 200 damage throw, which is big. And his abilities are 1, when blocking, he will heal in 10 health increments. Healing per second increases the longer block is held. And 2, will not flinch from non-charged and some charged attacks while jumping, dashing, or punching. Also gains 50% damage reduction when a punch is resisted. So he is pretty complicated.
He's a big old tank that you have to be... I feel like it seems like a beginner character, but I also feel like there's a lot of, like, you have to be, like, know when to use the thing. Because you can't just sit and heal because someone else will grab you and throw you and you'll be knocked out of it and lose health. So, well, I at first thought it's like, oh, this is like the big heavy character. Give it to your little brother who can't play a game because he can take a lot of damage. But he seems to have a lot of things that you can't just sit there and, you know, just absorb all the damage because then you'll be gone really quick. And you have to, like, figure out ways that you can get quick heals in or, you know, use his non-flinch ability for certain attacks or counter attacks.
Yeah. I do think he is very beginner friendly with that non-flinching from non-charge and some charge attacks while jumping, dashing, or punching. I think that's really useful. His damage reduction is useful. But yeah, the health thing, while it looks initially great, like you'd have to be blocking for 15 seconds to counter a throw. So you got to use that in smart bursts. But if used well, you know, you can really kind of like slowly but surely recoup your lost health, which is a really nice thing. So again, it kind of just shows how ARMS, like, first blush, yeah, Springman kind of like a basic guy, you know, he you know, looks more like the Ken or the Ryu, and oh yeah, Master Mummy, the big tank. But if you want to dive deeper, these characters do have nuances that will allow them to hopefully be played at higher levels that will increase and encourage tournament play and more of a hardcore following for the game.
Yes, sir.
Min Min, the Ramen Bomber. Her throw damage is 150. And her first ability is while dashing, will kick away airborne arms, knocking them to the ground, leaving an opening. Ability 2 is after a successful throw or a long charge after dash, left arm will become a dragon, and left arm's weapon will be changed or charged for a much longer time. Ends prematurely if Min Min is knocked down. So,
I think
dashing, dashing knocks down arms.
Yeah.
And then successfully throwing or charging after a dash turns her left arm into a more powerful dragon arm and charges up the left arm's weapon.
Yeah, I think she might be the most aesthetically cool in my opinion, and I really want to try out her kicking abilities. But I think it's very interesting that they did a like arm specific ability. Like it's only her left arm. There's no way, because when I first saw the trailer, I was like, oh cool, this I thought it was the arm becoming a dragon was part of the glove, the dragon glove or arm, not Min Min special ability. But now that I think it's just very interesting that they decided to be like, okay, this is only a half of her body specific thing, so you have to be, you know, conscious of using that left arm, which I think is really interesting. I'm excited to try her out.
Yeah, I like that there is some separation. Like, okay, her left arm is gonna, you know, have something that her right arm, and again, you can just see how when used well, these characters can have a lot of strategy behind them. Let's see. Twintel, the Silver Screen Queen and the fan art favorite. Her thickness is not just for aesthetics, though, because her throw damage is 160, a little bit more than the rest of the cast. Ability 1, when charging up arms in any way besides blocking, Twintel will slow time and all incoming attacks in a small area around her for a short time. Ability 2 is when charging arms in the air, Twintel's momentum slows down, allowing her to hover stationary in the air for a short time. I think it's a really interesting moveset.
I guess, I mean, again, I'm trying to think of how you'd use it, and I guess it's just to charge when a punch is incoming, then dash out of the way. I guess in my head, I'm trying to understand how this is any different or better than, like, say, Springman's ability to knock things down or Min Min's ability to kick down punches. Like, what is the benefit of slowing it down just so you can, like, I guess, dodge out of the way when it's coming? Is the only thing, like, I guess, the way you would use it.
Yeah, I think it's just different because, okay, so Min Min has to be dashing in order to knock them away. Whereas Twintel, if she's charging her arms in any way besides blocking, it allows for a slowdown of those incoming attacks. So
but you still have to move out of the way. It's not changing the course anyway.
No, you can maneuver out the way, but I feel like Twintel then gives more player agency to dodge, whereas Min Min's more like, okay, if you're dashing and they happen to catch you in the dash, it's going to knock it away. But you got to dash the right way to even make that work. You know what I mean? Or, yeah, I feel like it gives you more of an opportunity to kind of control. It seems like she's a very control character because, again, like she can hover in midair, which I think is helpful for aiming your attacks or also kind of like faking out your opponent. Like, oh, am I going to be dropping? Am I going to be hovering? And that's interesting too. Like the verticality of this comes really into play when you focus on the abilities because Ribbon Girl is going to be going up and down quickly, or maybe she can let it go longer. You know, you don't have to fall quickly. Whereas Twintel, can kind of hover in midair and stay elevated longer, which I think is going to add to some interesting moments of like misfiring your punches and really trying to predict and place, okay, where is the character going, learning what your opponent can do. And that seems to be something that's going to be really important in ARMS, like knowing, okay, I'm going up against a Master Mummy, here's what I got to compete against. I'm going up against a Min, here's what I have to deal with.
Yeah. And I mean, the stages, like I said before, line themselves well to the verticality. On to Mechanica.
Absolutely. Mechanica is the Scrapyard Scrapper. She has 160 throw damage, same as Twintel. Her ability 1 is that she can hold jump to hover for a short time, falling slowly. And then ability 2 is will not flinch from non-charged and some charged attacks while jumping, dashing, or punching. 50% damage reduction when the punch is resisted. So her second ability is the same as Master Mummy. Her first ability is a jump hover. So it's sort of like Twintel's, but Twintel requires aerial charging. Mechanica, she can just do it whenever.
Yes.
But she does fall slowly, which is negative.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, she's partially a tank, though, with the resist of some attacks.
Right.
Interesting. She's like Mummy and Twintel combined.
Right. So whereas Mummy is like much more ground-based and can recover health, she seems like, okay, rather than recover, she's just going to get out the way aerially.
Yep. Bite and Bark.
Bite and Bark, the Clockwork Cop's one of the coolest characters in the entire title. It's a throw damage of 150, and his ability 1 is that Bark, the dog, is AI controlled and can attack, move, body block, and be knocked out for around 5 seconds. Using the super move will instantly revive Bark and merge him with Bite, removing him from the field. So it is basically an assist character that has a mind of its own. It can attack, move, body block, can also be knocked down, but it's part of the super move, so the super move will revive and reunite him with Bite. And then ability 2 is that Bite can jump on Bark to jump with extra height. The impact of the bounce will cause arms to stop and fall to the ground, leaving an opening. So his bounce is what sends them away.
Yeah, when he hits Bark, when he lands on top of Bark, yeah.
So he's got a spring jump. Yeah. A spring jump and an assist. So I'm glad that his ability, like it's a big jump, but it's going to take time because you have to jump onto Bark. It does knock things down, which seems useful. But I'm glad that they didn't give him anything crazy because he basically has a support character.
Mm-hmm.
Although it's good to know that he can be knocked out for around 5 seconds. Like I feel like that's a solid knockout. And I do wonder, like, do you think there's... And Gabe told us, like, he doesn't think there's any player control of Bark at all. But the fact that... So it's just random. Like, he may get knocked out. He may not. He may attack. He may not.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's kind of on a timer of when he attacks. Like, just punch every, like, 5 seconds or 3 seconds or whatever it is. And then, yeah, I'm interested to see, like, if you start jumping on him, will he just stay there until you jump off? Or will he, like, move and, like pull the chair out from underneath you or what? I'm also interested to see, like... obviously his arm is like super generic. It doesn't have any special abilities or elements tied to it. But I'm interested to see like how much damage that actually does. Like, is it like a 50 punch? Is it like a 100 punch? What is it?
Well, the thing that I'm a little concerned about with Bark is, okay, what if in my match my Bark only gets knocked out once and then is able to do a whole bunch of extra damage, and in your match, your Bark gets knocked out 3 times, and then he's out for 15 seconds.
Getting knocked out is entirely up to your opponent. Your opponent has to punch him. He doesn't just fall over.
Yeah.
So it's
just an extra target. Yeah, so maybe it can be really easily countered in terms of, okay, I just take Bark out, he's back up, take Bark out, because you can just single punch him.
Yeah, and I mean, he's only throwing a punch every so often. He's not as unpredictable. It's not curving at all. It's pretty much a straightforward punch, so... I love the design and the thought of having this little assist guy with you. I think that's really cool and really unique compared to all the other ones. But right. I don't think it's going to be too OP, at least initially. Granted, look, we haven't touched these characters, so it's really hard to speak on that.
And we won't in the test punch, but we will get to play them eventually. And Kid Cobra is one I'm looking forward to because he's the speed demon, a streamer, as they said, with throw damage of 170. So he sits in between Mechanica and Twintel and Master Mummy. 2 abilities, one being he can charge up dashes in conjunction with arms, making dashes quicker and giving more distance. And then the second being when charge dashing on the ground, Kid Cobra will duck under incoming attacks. So his charge dash is very similar to Min Min's dash, but it requires a charge dash, and those charge dashes are charged in conjunction with arms so that he can dash quicker and gain more ground.
Yeah, so basically you just have to kind of constantly, if you want to, constantly be charging, then quick dashes out of the air. I mean, out of the way. And again, those are nicely represented, on the screen with little purple cobras following behind them. But I think it's interesting that they gave a speedy character the second most powerful throw in the game so far, which is very interesting to me.
Yeah, that is interesting. So he's got speed, but he's also got some strength behind him. I'm interested to see how this guy works out, because there are characters that are dash focused, but obviously with him being the speediest, I feel like he is going to be a fan favorite. I feel like dashing out of the way and then getting punches in is going to be a strategy that is gone too early and often, and I wonder how it's going to balance. Like, I'm very curious in general how the tiering of these characters is going to, all shuffle when all is said and done. But I feel like Kid Cobra will be like a go-to for a lot of people.
We shall see. Last but not least.
Yeah, will you go to the Man of Mystery, Helix? 150 throw damage. Ability 1, according to Gabe, the most complex ability in the game. Hold jump to stretch body vertically, keeping Helix in place and causing only his torso to move with the controls accordingly. And then ability 2, when dashing, Helix ducks temporarily, dodging high attacks. This man has basically 3 different levels.
Yeah.
Of height. And one is activated by dashing, so I guess it's really 2. The vertical one and the normal, the high and the medium. But it's interesting that his torso moves with the controls, so he can dodge punches-ish, but he's locked in place and can't dash.
Yeah, I wonder how beneficial this is. Can you just target his lower body that's stationary and knock him out of it, or do you have to go for mid to head shots against this, or what? Again, we haven't played as him, so can't really speak on that, but it'd be interesting to see how that plays out, because it seems like a hindrance, but also like a helpful thing. Like in his trailer, they show him like bobbing and weaving behind like one of the test tubes in his stage. Right. But yeah, and people are like, oh, he looks like so much like overpowered, like or not overpowered, but the best character by far because of his mobility and things like that. But I'm still questioning whether that's true, or if it's just he looks the most unique right now, but it isn't really the most beneficial. We shall see.
Yeah, I do like that when you examine this list, you kind of begin to realize how interesting and unique these different character moves are. But we've covered quite a bit here. If there's any errors, we apologize again. This was a combined effort from a whole bunch of people on the Switch Reddit thread trying to piece together their moves, and it seems pretty accurate based on all that we've watched. So let us know what you think. Which character, after hearing the moves, are you most interested in trying out, and which one do you think will be the strongest of them all? Let us know in the comments down below. Hope you enjoyed the video. Super pumped for ARMS. We've got the test punch coming in just a couple of days, and the game releasing not that much longer after. Which ARMS character will we be? Find out soon. Until that time, everybody, thanks so much for watching. For myself and Jake, SwitchForce out. Force out.